Welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill with your friends and get your gaming goodness every Monday. My name's Dylan Blight. Joining me on the couch this week, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here to give this public service announcement. Don't send death threats. Surprised I have to explain it to people, but it's a thing.
That's like the most serious intro you've ever done. Well done. Also here, Shri Sharona.
Hello. It was just me. I don't have any lame intros, sorry.
I think the hello's your thing. See, here, how it works is Ash always has a like a random tangent thing, right? Now, if Kieran's here, his thing is that his thing he says is usually in response to whatever Ash says, which means that I've learned that I always have to introduce Kieran second. Because if I introduce Kieran first, he just doesn't know what to say. And it's a complete utter mess because he goes, Dylan, I need Ash to set me up. And your thing is saying hello. So you're pretty set. I could put you first or second, but Kieran's up shit creek. Nick, don't know.
Can't remember.
See, and the only other time I get introduced is obviously when we do What Do You Want to Watch? And my thing is usually just responding to whatever the fuck Ash says on What Do You Want to Watch, because that's what he does to me on everything else. They'll be like, we're going to talk about this thing this week. And I'll be like, you know what, Ash? I fucking never heard of it. Yeah, so that's podcast intros introduced for the Explosion Network. Thank you for joining us this week.
So pretty much I'm just setting everyty else up as well.
Yeah, that is,
Except me.
Except tree, yeah.
I mean, you could have swung off that tree,
I'm good.
Georgia the jungle.
Stick to what you know.
Georgia the jungle. Today on the show, how much would you pay for video games? ? J.K. Rowling sure is a person, and other video game news, including they're making a Fallout TV show apparently, and that will be a thing that's going to be memed into fuckery. Before any of that. There's no reviews up this week. I did have one preview published if you'd like to go check it out. It's for this little game called Skully. It's a game in which a skull is... it's hard to explain. There's like these gods. There's these gods on an island, and they're like all squabbling and fighting with one another. And then one of them is like, you know what, I'm sick of my family all fighting and like destroying the environment or whatever. So they're like, I'm going to like bring this skull or being or something back to life. I don't know if there's more backstory to your character, but anyway, you're brought back to life and you're just a skull. But then as a skull, you roll around and then you can dive into like mud piles and you can turn into a golem creature. And then you can do platforming and you can do the things where you punch people. My headline for it says, Cooler World meets mascot platformer. And I described it as Banjo and Kazooie, Cooler World, and Knack. And then you've got Skully. It was pretty fun. I only played the first 2 chapters. I think there's going to be like 12 levels or some shit I read. It's out August 4th. PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and the PCs. But yeah, it's basically an old school platformer, but with a bit more, what's the word for it? Like, because you play as a skull, like there's like momentum to everything. So like when you're rolling around, you could roll off the edge or something.
Yep.
Like
it's a little bit physics based.
Yeah, a bit more physics based. Yeah. So it was pretty cool though. I got gameplay up on the YouTube as well if you want to watch the gameplays. YouTube.com/Explosion Network. So that's anything worth ticking off this week. Let's jump into the news. First things first. Proper public service announcement. I mean, Ash was cool as well, but Ooblets comes to early access finally July 15th. That is next week, is it? I don't know.
So soon.
Yeah.
Next week. Next Wednesday.
Wednesday week.
There you go. Or it could be Thursday. I don't know when they're like.
Probably Thursday.
It's probably Thursday, yeah. It's probably American 15th. So that's Epic Game Store. In case you've somehow forgot the traumatic events of them announcing that they're Epic Game Store exclusive now. That was a thing that happened last year. Early access. And then also the Xbox One's called Xbox Preview program or something like that, whatever. So it's going to be on there as well. So that's when you can jump in, play early access, play the game. We can finally play Ooblets. I feel like we've been talking about Ooblets for like the entirety of this show.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
We're on episode 85.
Just waiting.
It's.
I mean, it's perfectly fine. They take their time to make the game as long as it's necessary for them to make the game. But that's just my opinion.
We're not trying to rush them. We just really want to play the game.
Yeah, look,
I'm very excited.
You're allowed to be in
It's
both
going to be
games.
cool.
So,
yeah.
Ooblets is finally coming out. Next thing, I want someone to try and explain this to me because I don't fucking understand it. This Kotaku has this story titled "Why Resident Evil Village Isn't Called Resident Evil 8," and I saw that headline and I was like, "All right, try and explain to me." The story says, when the upcoming Resident Evil Village was announced last month, we thought it was called Resident Evil 8 Village. It's not. This game is simply called Resident Evil Village. There's a reason for that. Pause the multiverse. So I remember when they announced it in the PlayStation thing, and in my notes, I wrote down like some fucking funny thing where I was like, it's Resident Evil VI 8 Village. Like, because the way they announced it in the trailer, I'm like, I don't know how we're supposed to know what the fuck this game's called because you literally gave me 10 titles. So then they've got this Q&A here. In this week's Weekly Famitsu, the game's producers explain that, yes, this is a direct sequel to Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, bring that story to a close. So then why isn't this called Resident Evil 8? The question, in the Village logo, there's a numeral for 8. So why wasn't the title Resident Evil 8? Answer, you could call the actual village another character in the game. And we did that because we would like players to understand that. Question, which is the official abbreviation of the game, RE8 or Village? There isn't really an official abbreviation, but would just be happy if you remembered Village. I have no idea what the fuck goes on at Capcom and what the fuck they're drinking, because none of that makes any sense or they're proper fucking answers. Ash, what are we calling the game? Are we actually calling it Resident Evil Village? Are they going to change this in a week?
I guess so.
They kind of VI, because
numbers don't matter.
In the thing, they didn't even have it as an 8 as a Roman numeral. If we want to be very specific, it had VII, so 7 dot
7 1
dot
age.
age. Resident Evil 7 1 age is the official title. I think we can all finally possibly agree upon.
We're not calling it that,
I think they've. I feel like they realized it was a bit of a stretch to make the 8 in there, and they're like, no, let's just ditch it. We'll just call it Resident Evil Village. Again, I don't think the numbers matter too much. There's a mindset that the more numbers you include, the less likely you are to get people into your thing, because they go, oh, I need to play all the first ones first before I'll understand it or whatever. If you don't include a number, then maybe there'll be more people inclined to jump in, even though this is a direct sequel to 7. So
they might want to tell Tetsuro Nomura that, because when he's titling shit fucking 3.874765 Kingdom Hearts Rebirth 2nd edition.
Kingdom Hearts is impenetrable. So I mean, if you didn't play it when you were a kid, you're screwed. It's just weird. I mean, it just depends if they're ever going to do it proper 8 in the future.
Yeah, like, are they just going to do these half ones in between, or is this it?
This is the direct sequel.
Or are there no more numbers ever again?
I hope not. No, well,
number 7 was the last numbered. Everything else is subtitled. The weird thing is, it's not even Resident Evil Village.
It's just Resident Evil Village. Like, it's a Resident Evil Village. It's a village of Resident Evil.
It's a village of Resident Evils.
It's a village of Resident Evil. And some would say that you could actually call the village another character in the game. I don't know if you caught that as well, So it's actually the character's name. Resident Evil Village.
Yeah.
Resident Evil Chris. He's now super buff,
apparently.
Get
that. I didn't realize it was terrible. A character from a name.
I hate it. I hate everything about it. Just as a side note. All right. Next story. Fortnite's our beta. Obviously, none of us play Fortnite. I don't care. But it's where I had to bring it up. I had to do the right thing and bring it up because over the last couple of years, we have continuously gave Fortnite shit for being in beta. So now we will tell the story. So Polygon writes, Fortnite is dropping its early access. Sorry, not beta, early access. Fortnite is dropping its early access label. Epic Games announced on Tuesday as part of a change to the game's original survival mode, Save the World. More importantly, Epic said that it's reversing plans to make Save the World free to play and will slow down development of the mode, which has long been overshadowed by Fortnite's Battle Royale component. Save the World will also no longer be able to support all upcoming Fortnite Battle Royale cosmetic purchases, but your existing library of cosmetics will continue to function in both modes. While Epic said that the new content for Save the World will slow down, the adventure doesn't end here with Save the World. On the game's official blog, Epic wrote, all paid founders will have their founders packs upgraded to the next level and unlock all rewards, including the upgraded pack, free, courtesy of Homebase. Ultimate Edition owners will be granted the new Metal Team Leader pack and 8,000 V-Bucks. Get excited. So, if you're listening to this and you're like, what the fuck is Save the World? Or you're like so out of the loop that that's a thing, completely understandable. In case Save the World is the original Fortnite. That's what it was. The one that they put out in disc and everything. And it was the one that cost full price, $60 or whatever. That was like the full on game. And it didn't review very well. And it didn't do so hot. And then, I don't know, like 6 months down the track or whatever it was, they put out Fortnite Battle Royale, or whatever they call that.
They looked at PUBG and they went, hey, we like that.
Yeah. And then they released that as free to play in early access or whatever. And that's what we've been dealing with. To the point, though, that now people who never heard of Fortnite when it originally came out don't know what the hell Save the World is. And people who several years later are so used to Fortnite being a Battle Royale completely forget that Save the World was actually a thing.
Yes.
So now they're ending Save the World. It's connection to cosmetics, which A, I never knew that they even connected. And B, I want to know who actually cares, to be honest. And C, they've decided to take Fortnite out of early access seemingly because reasons. Like, there's literally no... this is another thing that kind of annoys me. There's literally no thing where they're like, oh, we finally have reached a part where we feel the game's stable enough, or, you know, like some thing like that. They're just like, yeah, like we're making these changes, now it's coming out of early access. So I guess technically, if we're following the Explosion Network rules, Fortnite Battle Royale is officially eligible for Game of the Year this year.
Finally. Oh, it's going to be mine.
Whoa.
Finally. Just want to throw that out there. You know, now it's finally out of early access. People can vote for that shit. Get excited. There's my due diligence. Do you have anything to say on this, Ash? You love Fortnite?
You're
the only person who's played it, actually. So.
Who's played Fortnite?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's momentous. It's finally, you know, getting out of beta, full release. I guess they got to a point where it was perfect after 5 years and 2 or 3 chapters. Yeah, I mean, it'll be weird not to see the early access text in the bottom corner. There'd be no text.
Is that actually what it has in the bottom corner? Early access at all points?
I'm pretty sure in
it's
like loading screen or something.
Yeah, it's normally I think
or in the main menu. Yeah.
Section.
Okay. I've never even noticed. There you go. Yeah, good job, Epic, I guess. All right, so let's move on to some of the bigger stories of the week. So Harry Potter is up shit creek, in case you don't know. Not just the game, but the movies, the live show, everyone. And there was that. When did this game officially? When was it? It was right before Gamescom last year, or it was right before the Game Awards last year, wasn't it? That was roughly when this footage originally leaked. I think so.
I think so.
Leaked out. Yeah, I think so.
No, it leaked in 2018.
Yeah, it was. I think it was right before the Game Awards, and everyone was kind of presuming / hoping it would show up at the Game Awards last year. Well,
this PC Gamer article is dated from the 2nd of October 2018 for the original leak. For the original leak, yes. There you go. So we're approaching a year since the original gameplay leaked. Now they write the long rumored Harry Potter 2018.
RPG.
I said.
Oh, 2018. What?
Yeah.
Man, we're in 2022 right now, so that shit's ages ago. PC Gamer does write, long rumored Harry Potter RPG will reportedly release in 2021. A Harry Potter RPG developed by Avalanche Software will launch in late 2021 for next-gen consoles, according to a new Bloomberg report. Publisher Warner Brothers has yet to officially announce the game, but its existence is almost indisputable. At this point, it's been long rumored with footage leaked in 2018. Jesus, is that right? Is that it? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay. According to two unnamed sources on this development team speaking to Bloomberg, that 2018 footage was real. The game is currently scheduled to release for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X in late 2021, but the report makes no mention of a PC release. It's apparently an open-world recreation of Hogwarts and its surrounding areas. The game will reportedly be revealed after the next Batman game, which is expected at the DC Fandom event in August. It's later than initially planned. The Harry Potter RPG was meant to debut at E3 2020 before the convention was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So this answers several things, but so we can chuck all the ingredients in one dish before we talk about it a bit more. Kotaku also wrote relevance to this report. Harry Potter game devs distressed over J.K. Rowling's rampant transphobia. Developers on the upcoming Harry Potter game have privately expressed concerns over series creator J.K. Rowling's transphobic comments, according to a new report from Bloomberg. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was first published blah 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 1997. Over the last few years, Rowling has become one of the most visible trans exclusively. She's a TERF, right? For among the other things, her public support of UK researcher Maya Forrester lost her job for being gender critical. The sanitized phrase used by TERFs to explain the fact that they don't believe trans women are actually women. Rowling has had a public tantrum earlier this month when a news story referred to people who menstruate as people who menstruate, as opposed to narrowly defining their biological process as unique to cis women. So apparently, the still unnamed and unannounced Harry Potter project has been highly anticipated. According to a report from Jason Schreier, sources say the game is still in the works. And though J.K. Rowling doesn't have a direct connection to the Harry Potter game, which is said to be an open world adventure game, Avalanche Software employees have still have misgivings about working with the property due to Rowling's increasingly public bigotry. Studio management has yet to address the issue with staff. Bloomberg reports leaving many to commiserate through private messages in Slack and discuss it. And I did see some more stuff on Twitter. I was trying to find it. I saw it early in the week, but I couldn't find it. But there was another report from someone, or just like people generally chit-chatting on Twitter who were like, oh, I can't say if I work there or who the sources are or whatever, but they were saying, once again, Twitter, no confirmation, but they were like, oh, apparently people are considering leaving over the J.K. Rowling comments. So there's several things here over the last couple of weeks we've been discussing that have been ticked off. A, will they announce Harry Potter and the Batman game at the same time? Apparently not. Batman game is going to get announced at the Fandom. We kind of expected that. Makes sense. B, Harry Potter game is still coming. It's not cancelled. Yet. C, J.K. Rowling sucks. D, will this game actually ever come out? I don't actually know. So what do you reckon of all this, Ash?
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess it's a good thing it's not going to be announced for a little while, because maybe there won't be so much blowback about it when it comes out. I mean, I'm sure there will be, or all come back bubbling up. But I mean, for people who are fans of the property, it's a good thing. I mean, it's one of those things where it's hard to distinguish at the moment between the two things, but obviously she's barely involved in the project, so it's so removed from.
Well, the main thing people keep bringing up on Twitter is like, even if you're like, oh, she has nothing to do with it, because she gets such a cut from everything. It's like, even if you, no matter what you say, at the end of the day, if you buy the game, you are filling her pockets somewhat.
I guess. I mean, there's no avoiding it. The fact of the matter is, anything you buy, you're probably funding someone terrible. I've seen The Good Place. Anytime you purchase anything, it probably leaks back to somebody who's not a good person. So just worry about yourself.
Although that's true, the main argument I'm saying,
your own personal happiness comes first.
the main argument I'm saying for people not wanting to support it is because they consider J.K. Rowling has kind of become the loudest and most prominent face for TERFs, next to Graham Linham, however the fuck you say his fucking name. He used to be the most prominent, but do you not know? No, he's the dude who created Black Books, and Father Ted and shit.
Well, clearly I'm not involved as care about him as you did. So
yeah. He's been an out and proud piece of shit for like 5 years at this stage. So, And I was always like, well, I already own my Black Books DVDs, and he was already involved. He only did season 1, so I'll just like watch that season less. That was my whole argument for that. But J.K. Rowling overtook it. He got banned on Twitter recently, by the way. So hopefully she's next. He got banned on Twitter for some of the shit he was saying, and people keep trying to report J.K. Rowling tweets to see if they can get her banned off Twitter as well, because they got Graham banned. So, but yeah, because she's like the most prominent, obviously, kind of. She elevates all the other people's voices, I guess is the argument. So then it's like, no matter the way you're looking at it, you're it's not just funding someone who's a piece of shit, it's funding someone who's the sort of the pseudo leader now of TERFs, is basically the way people try and look at it. And maybe, if it came out tomorrow, I'm sure given everything that's happening at the moment, it would probably sell a lot less because it's a lot more in people's mindsets and shit like that. The way people easily forget about things, I would assume that, probably right, a year from now, if it comes out end of next year, people probably give two shits less then, because she's probably still going. Presumably she ain't going to change her ways. I'd be very surprised at this point, but people will probably just forget and be like, oh, whatever, I don't give a shit. Other people, it's a weird predicament because she's one person who will get some money of it. However, there's also going to be like a couple hundred developers that worked on the game, and by not buying it, you're fucking them over, and they're all presumably good people. Like, for the sake of argument, let's assume that they're all good people, right? And then people go on. It's a weird conundrum, and I honestly don't know which side of the line I would currently fall on. My whole feelings of Harry Potter in general at the moment is very like, I don't know, I wouldn't. Like, if I could go see, like in a different world, let's say I'd booked in to go see The Cursed Child like next week. Say, for example, no COVID or whatever. So say next week was the week I was going to see The Cursed Child or whatever, and then all this stuff had like kicked off over the last couple of weeks or whatever, then it would be like, kind of killed my mood. Like, I don't know what to do at this point. Shirley, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it depends whether you can separate yourself. Like, say if the game came out tomorrow, it depends whether you can separate her from the game that you're actually playing. But I think you're right in the way that this sort of stuff also brings out a lot of people that don't necessarily care about this shit normally. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're just going to follow the trend for the minute, and then, like you said, just forget about it and just go off the bandwagon. So if they release it later, they'll probably, still jump on board. But I think, if they brought it out tomorrow, they'd be screwed. Like, there's too much. She's too much of the focus of things, and I just don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I could separate her from the scenario, but I'm trying to also remember like all the other people that were involved with creating this universe that we love, not just her.
It was just her.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, like, for all argument's sake, the books are the basis for everything, and she wrote them all by herself. So,
well, yeah, but I'm saying like outside of that, like think about the amount of people that love it for not. Yeah. Even people that haven't read the books or whatever. Like,
it's one of those, I think, because like I saw someone trying to bring up the argument of like, oh, what if it was Star Wars and it turned out George Lucas was a piece of shit? I'm like, well, I'm sure that would be an argument, but like there is also a difference between Star Wars and Harry Potter, whereas like George Lucas created Star Wars. However, the first movie was created by a few hundred people,
Directed by somebody else,
like he didn't solely create the vision of that Star Wars. Like he wrote the script, he created the universe, sure, and like he deserves the majority of the credit. However, many people did artwork and helped design characters and everything from
it was a collaborative thing.
Very collaborative process. Whereas with Harry Potter, it all comes down to those books, which are all just like there's no other collaborative process. And I'm sure you could be like, yeah, but maybe these days they base some other things on the look and design of the movies, which is probably true. However, the movies, once again, all just pulled. Like, there was always a source material. Like, the big difference between something based on a movie to a book is always like, well, the book's one person or two people usually, one or two people, you know. Like, it's like, if no one ever says, like, it was created by Stephen King and Stephen King, you know. Like, there's only one go-to guy for that. And they can try and bury her name, I guess, but I don't know if legally, and she'll get as much pull on this game as she wants. Because I saw someone else on Twitter be like, what if like at the start of the game it comes up and gives a message that, like, you know, although this is based on the works of someone we don't want to mention, she who shan't be named, we do not support her views, blah blah blah, you know, some shit like that. Or even when they announce the game, like, say when they put out the initial trailer, they put out the message that, like, this is you know, she who shan't be named, but we're not basing anything on her views, and we're trying to separate it from this. But the problem with that is it would never happen because she has so much tight pull on everything that's related to Harry Potter that I'm pretty sure she gets, like, final say on fucking everything that happens. Because she has a very tight grip on the franchise. So I don't see any of these things happening. I do not. Yeah,
probably not that. I suspect it'll be something in interviews people involved in the game will say, and you hope it, like, filters down. You know, maybe they, you know, in the physical editions they just put a slip in paper for, you know,
do something. Yeah,
maybe in something, or like some special code that pops up.
I think the other thing too is even if the game was incredible, it's just taking everything away from all the hard work that these other people have been doing on it.
Mm-hmm. It's no one's fault but hers. You know, I see. So, like, for another example, the two biggest Harry Potter fan sites that have been around since the heyday of the books have both put out messages this week saying they, like, JK, get fucked, basically. You know, like, they've separated themselves and been like, we're still going to cover the franchise, we're still fans, but they put out public messages. So I feel like they need to, whenever they finally announce this game, they need to do that at the same time. Like, they need to put out the trailer, or they, even better, so the messaging's already in people's heads when they're watching the trailer, do a teaser trailer, you know, like, trailer coming at whatever event, or E3, or whatever the fuck we're doing next year when the trailer's announced. Put out a teaser trailer, and then put out a message beside that saying, we're about ready to announce this game. Here's how we feel. Blah, blah, blah. Fuck her. So then when they do show the initial trailer, everyone's going like, okay, the development team and the publisher, they're all, like, on the level we want them at, because then people will be able to watch it maybe a bit more. But people are still going to have troubles too, because I've seen, like, people, I've seen trans people on Twitter bring up examples like, I love Harry Potter. How the fuck am I supposed to play a game when I'm sitting there and I'm, like, trying to get in the zone and trying to zone her out, and then from the world of J.K. Rowling, and then they go like, fuck her, and then they turn the game off because they're like, well, that just upset me to see her name. So, like, you know, no way around it.
Accessibility option. You know, Naughty Dog led the way.
Accessibility option to
filter
J.K. Rowling's name. Yeah, go for it. All right, let's move on. So this one's really just for me, Ash, but Battle Royale co-op times. So Ubisoft announced this new game called Hyper Scrap, right? Scape. Sorry,
Scape.
Hyper Scape. Sorry, Scrap. I don't know, whatever. Hyper
Scrap.
Yeah, maybe. Hyper Scap. Hyper Scrappy. Hyper Scabs. Hyper Scrap. Scap. It's a video game. Just the fucking the evil looks I'm getting right now. Jesus Christ. Anyway, they announced this game. It's Battle Royale, right? And Ash loves those. They're his favorite game.
I love them too.
No. You can earn it. First, what you need to do is you need to come on the podcast and you need to say, I hate first-person shooters. I don't play them much. Then over the next, like, next year and a
You know my
half.
favorite games.
Yeah, Call of Duty. Yeah, so they need to swing it around and just start playing Call of Duty all the time, because this is. I never get over the fact that Ash did this. He always used to be like, "Oh, first person shooters, don't like them, can't play them," and then he slowly started like creeping in, and now all he does is fucking play them. And I could literally go back early episodes of Platinum Explosion. He'd be like, "Oh, first person shooters, I hate them, I can't play them." Fucking Apex Legends every night over here. Like, if anything, it's a story of how you can teach a dog a new trick. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're never too old, because Ash is like 57 and he learned how to play first person shooters. So fucking got him.
It doesn't bode well that we're the same age, Ash. I guess I'm also 57.
So yeah, Ubisoft announced this Battle Royale. And they did the thing that EA did, where they got a whole bunch of streamers and content creators and YouTubers or whatever the fuck to come play it and stream it. And when they announced it or whatever, it was kind of not as hype because it actually leaked ahead of time, whereas Apex never actually leaked when they announced that. So the big thing for this game, I guess, to point out like what makes this different to every other Battle Royale first person shooters is it's, I guess, design, with the fact that there seems to just be jump pads everywhere, and the game's got a lot of verticality to it. Yeah, so it's a lot of that. One other cool thing they've got is, so when you find duplicate guns, so if you find another gun lying around that's the same as the one you've already got, instead of just being like, oh fuck, that's not exciting and moving on, you can actually use that to upgrade your gun throughout the game as you find duplicates. That's a super unique factor to this one that stood out to me. And then also their the way they deal with dying in this game also stands out. So when you die, or quote unquote die, you basically turn into a ghost or some shit. And then you can enemies can't kill you, and you can kind of zoom ahead, so then you can get knowledge and voice chat or ping it back to your teammates or whatever, and be like, there's enemies here or whatever. And then when the battle's over, it'll bring in a way to respawn you. I didn't fully understand if,
I think it's when you actually kill somebody. Restore point is created.
Yeah, and then they can respawn you there. So it seems like you can be brought back several times over, and the disadvantage to dying isn't GG, you're dead, it's all over now. It's well, if you die early in a 3v3 fight, you've now turned your team into a handicap of 2v3. So you still don't want to die, but at least you'll be able to come back. What have you seen for this though, Ash, as the resident Battle Royale master? What are your thoughts on?
I just watched the gameplay trailer. It looks like an interesting mashup of a bunch of other Battle Royales. Obviously, you've got Fortnite-esque characters. I guess the art style is kind of maybe a little bit more realistic than that. It looks like it's got a pretty big map, very much like Call of Duty Warzone. And then obviously, I mean, the only other thing that's a bit different is obviously the final section, where it turns into a bit more of a King of the Hill thing, possibly, where you have to get a crown. If you hold it for 45 seconds, you win, or if you kill everybody else. But yeah, I guess that makes it a little bit more interesting, rather than the only objective at the end is to kill everybody.
And the other thing worth mentioning, of course, is they're really pushing this as a Twitch game, where they're you stream it to Twitch and people will be able to watch, to vote as you're playing, and give infinite bullets, or trigger different sorts of events in the game at the same time and whatever else. And I'm okay, cool, I guess. What if you're not playing on Twitch?
The trailer's very informative.
It tries to be, I guess. It's the idea. Any other thoughts, Ash?
No, I guess it'll be interesting to see how microtransaction heavy it is. How much, obviously, it's not like Apex. They've got powers, but they're not locked to characters. There's hacks or powers you can collect through the entire world. So I guess you can kind of customize your character however you want, depending on what you find. I guess that's interesting. Another thing to slightly differentiate itself. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I guess it'll just depend on how interesting that map is as well. how annoying it is to traverse around.
I'm not a big fan
if
of
it
the
sucks
map.
to get up and down, it'll be
I just I mean, just watching the gameplay trailer and whatever else, the little snippet of gameplay I quickly looked at. It just, and obviously it may be different if you're playing it, but it just everything looked the same to me, samey. Like there wasn't any like big. I didn't see
Landmarks,
any
yeah.
standout landmarks. Really.
Yeah, they like showed the different hubs, but then they looked very similar.
Yeah. And obviously, because we play Apex a lot, my mind's automatically like all of the main Apex areas, or at least the majority of them, I feel like has something that makes them all stand out. Especially the second Apex map, where they were very much like, here, this side of the map's fucking lava, this side's water, this side's ground, ice. Like they mixed up, so it was really unique as you like got moved around as the circle came in, obviously. Whereas this one, I'm like, yeah, cool. I guess like they're trying to.
It's just a city.
It's a city. Yeah, I mean the response from people who played it, and I didn't look too much into it because once again, I feel like the majority of people they fly out to play and talk about this were all just YouTubers and influencers, and they're talking about it like it's the best game ever. And they're doing the whole like, oh, I didn't get told to say this. I'm like, yeah, but no offense, I don't really trust you. Like, so I'm taking what you're saying with a bit of 2 cents, but everyone seems to be like, yeah, this is really good. This is really good. Whatever. Like, okay, but it's still another Battle Royale, and I just feel like there's like, how many is too many, and like, at what point is trying to get into the Battle Royale game marketplace just a silly decision? Like, what you really have to do something unique, and I feel like this game, although there's some stuff here that stands out, I guess I'm like, is any of this unique enough to be better or more interesting than Fortnite, Apex, Call of Duty? You know, like, and so far I'm like, no. You know, yeah, I'm like, no,
yeah.
So I don't really, yeah, we'll see.
I mean, yeah, there's enough there to give it a try, but I don't think it doesn't scream anything that will keep people around for an extended period.
Yeah. Like, people may play it for a week or whatever, and they'll be like, yeah, and I'll go back to Call of Duty or Apex or Fortnite, whatever they was playing before. I feel like
Battle Royale choice, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's what happens with the majority of them that come in as well. So it's like, okay. All right, last big news story of the week that just randomly got announced like on a fucking Tuesday or some shit. Kotaku writes, Bethesda announces Fallout TV show. Today, Amazon and Bethesda officially announced a TV show set in the Fallout universe being produced by the creators behind HBO's Westworld. Bethesda posted a short teaser video of for the show on the official Fallout Twitter account. The teaser contains almost nothing beyond an old TV and a test pattern asking folks to please stand by. Variety has more details about the new Fallout show, which has already received a full series commitment from Amazon and will be streamed on Prime. The show is being created by Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan, the duo behind the popular and successful Westworld over on HBO. They plan on capturing the harsh tone of the original games, will also include some of the sillier moments too. No word on if the creators plan on including numerous scenes where characters get stuck in the world or randomly lose all of their progress. No date was given for when the Fallout show will be released. I'm kind of like mixed feelings on this because I feel like when you boil down like what is a Fallout TV show, I'm like, well, it's just like another apocalyptic show, and I feel like there's already just been heaps. Like I don't know. Like Fallout stands out, I guess, in the game space for its like storytelling, but mostly for its the way it does RPG mechanics. That's what everyone remembers it for, like as an RPG. But I'm like, if you take away the game and you turn it into just a story thing, is it unique enough to stand out to mainstream audiences? Like, I'm sure obviously lots of gamers will probably tune in to check it out, but I'm like, I'm not sold on it being a unique enough property. Ash, what do you think? Fallout TV series?
I mean, I think the world is probably interesting enough. I mean, it just depends on where they set it, what kind of and what story they're going to tell. Are they just going to tell the story of the game? Is it going to be the story of examples Fallout 4 where you have to go find your son or something like that? Some guy pops out of a vault and has to find their son or something. Or is it set? Is it going to be someone coming out of a vault into the new world? I feel like that is like the quintessential Fallout story at this point. But or is it people who are already living in the world and how they exist in the nuclear Fallout post-apocalyptic world? I mean, the potential is there for it to be interesting and cool. They've got the potential for interesting stories. As long as the CGI is up to stuff and the story is up to stuff, I think that it could potentially be very good.
I think you have to worry about CGI.
But you can say that about anything.
Amazon's going to throw money at Amazon's just going to throw money at this stage. Shree, how would you feel about Fallout?
Well, I think like the other thing that is good in the games is obviously the art style. So it's how they're going to translate that. Because I think you take, like you're saying, you take away that and the actual RPG side of things, and I feel like you like it does. If you're just like, yeah, they come out into the world. That's like anything really. That's like a bazillion other TV shows.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do they translate all of those things that are interesting and unique into the show? And that's either going to make it or break it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get the fangirls and the fanboys, obviously, like Ashley Hobley over here, who's going to be like, yeah, I'll for sure watch this. But if it was just advertised randomly, what sort of audience are you going to? Don't know. That's my take. I reckon they just have to make it interesting enough. Like they have to still make it unique, translating into a TV show.
Well, the thing, like with The Last of Us, for example, being turned into a TV show, that's all based on like that's all about characters that exist with backstories and whatever else. And Fallout is all about you playing and creating your own character. Even if the through line story, like for Fallout 3, is like your dad something something something, and then Fallout 4 is like your dad something something, you know, like there's a through line there, but when it comes down to like moment to moment storytelling, because it's an RPG, it doesn't have like a major character narrative that they can follow through. And if so they're not following any of that sort of stuff. They're obviously just going to be like telling their own tale set within the Fallout universe. So, but again, I'm like, unless they go super hardcore into what makes Fallout interesting, it's just going to be a typical
a normal TV show.
Yeah. So if it was me, I'm like, you commit, you go full hardcore, bring in all the weird shit. So that means straight away you have like super mutants in it, arguing with one another, playing poker. I don't know. Straight up, you get ghoulies in it. You know, like you straight away chuck as many unique Fallout weird creature and character types that you can think of in the first episode, and don't just have like, oh, nuclear apocalypse, here's some human characters struggling. Like, I'm like, okay, straight away, I'm like, this seems like a million other shows I've watched. Like, in the first episode, have weird shit. Have the weird Fallout character monsters and whatever else. Super mutants, behemoths, fucking go hardcore. Go off the chain. And also, I hope it doesn't have some weird... The other thing that stands out to me about this that's weird is that those two, Lisa and Jonathan, do Fallout, Westworld, and... Westworld is basically about people playing a video game. Like, well, the first, kinda. The first season is all about the Westworld park, and that's basically just like a big video game where people come and they dress up as cowboys and they go in there so they can play an RPG and like shoot fake robot people and whatever. Like, it's literally the future version of a video game / role playing type thing. And now they're going to turn a video game into a thing. Topsy-turvy world. There you go. Any more thoughts? No? Ash? You love it?
No. Yeah.
Love Fallout.
Wait and see.
Wait and see. Comes out in 10 years.
Sure. Where's it set?
I don't know. Country road.
These are all good questions.
Yeah. That should be the theme song.
I hope so.
The players have started every episode.
Topic of the show is about video game prices. So this past week, news came out that NBA, was it? I've lost it. 2K21. See, I don't even know.
2K21.
I don't know how they work. I'm like, is they called the year they're in or the year after? No, the sports games are always the year after.
You love sports games.
Yeah, I love them. Absolutely love sports games. So press start writes, 2K has announced that the next gen version of newly announced 2K21 will cost more on next gen consoles. The game is set to cost $109.95 Australian on the PS5, Xbox Series X, which is $10 more than the $99.99 Australian dollar version for the PS4 and Xbox One versions. Similarly, in the US, it's set to cost $69.99 compared to $59.99. Those who purchase the Mamba Forever Edition will get a free what? Mamba? What did I say? Mamba?
Mamba?
Nah.
Mamba?
We'll get a free upgrade, but this will set you back $149.95. 2K has opted not to use smart delivery for the Xbox Series X or the similar upgrade program for PS5. The next-gen version of 2K21 is set to feature unbeatable graphic fidelity, 2-second load speeds, new gameplay features, and expanded game modes. So they're literally, the argument for saying it's going to cost $10 more is because they're like, it's so good on next-gen. It's so good that it's worth the $10 more. So after this got announced, the whole internet caught on fire, as it does, for a good 24, 48 hours. And we're like, oh man, does this mean all video games are now going to cost $10 more next generation? And to answer that question straight away, no, until that's actually a confirmed thing. Like, it's very easy
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. It's very easy to see one video game that costs more. That doesn't mean that all suddenly going to cost more. Now, if NBA 2K21 sells and does well, and no one cares about the price, then you'd probably see a couple other people try and increase their prices. And if they all do well, then more people will increase their prices. And then maybe if no one gives two shits, the price of all games will potentially go up next year. But I'm saying potentially, right? So let's.
I mean, I suspect it'll be more of a more uniform thing, like at the start. It's like, hey, all the 2K games are going to go up $10. We might as well just put our prices up $10 as well.
No.
Or even just the retailer, like EB Games, just sets all the prices at that same price.
Yeah, people already hate EB. They would people would burn them down if they do.
Really? They're going to burn them down over $10?
Maybe. I will. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, people are stingy.
Arson seems a bit extreme.
So to get so I put up a poll on the Twitters. Would you care if video games prices suddenly increased by $10 overnight? 66.7% people said that's fine. So majority of the people that responded to our poll said that's fine. The responses we got were Kieran says as long as it doesn't affect digital prices. Kieran, it will affect digital prices. Sorry to tell you, that is not how it works. Nick said
digital prices will be hit the hardest.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at least physically you can shop elsewhere.
Nick said he'd be fine with it, but he knows game companies would just up the price and continue with their grinding microtransaction bullshit, which we'll get back to in a second because I think microtransactions are a big point of the argument people have been having. And then Jamie Penning said if the prices went up, it wouldn't make so much difference as people price match and get the games on sale for below RRP. Yes, it may go up on special editions, but if you're a standard on-the-shelf game, it's not going to change. So then I was like $69 to $79 at JB wouldn't make a difference. And then he said, considering he personally pre-orders games and pays them off over time, it wouldn't make much difference to him. And he says most of the time he buys Nintendo games and they basically always the same game price and they're expensive anyway. And so it's like, whatever. So
no. Yeah.
And most of the response I've seen online has been people, most part saying, yeah, like when you look at a game like The Last of Us 2, which recently came out, obviously it's like, this thing looks like it costs $10 million. Maybe we should be paying a bit more for games. I remember this argument coming up when The Witcher 3 came out and people were like, this shit should probably cost more money. Like it comes up every now and then and game prices don't really change or don't really do anything. The answer is that, as a lot of people have kind of pointed out in different ways, that they didn't put up game prices, but they found a way to sneakily get more money out of you, which was the invention of season passes, DLCs, microtransactions. Back in the day on the PS3, they tried to they did a short stint where they're charging people like $10, I think it was, to buy an online pass to play games online. This was before certain other things, and that only went for like a couple games, and people hated it so much that quickly got deleted out of system and long forgotten out of history. But ever since that like mid PS3 life cycle point, they have the video game industry has been trying to find ways to get more money for games and get people to keep a hold of their games so they don't lose as much to secondhand sales, because that was also a big point. And the way they found it, of course, was microtransactions and cosmetic DLCs and what have you. So then the other point people have been up is like, okay, so we increased the price of games by $10. Does that mean, in this case, it's the only clear example we have, if they increase the price of NBA 2K21 by $10, will it not have all the microtransaction shit that the last game had? And will you answer that question, Ash? Answer that question, yes or no. Will it still have all the money?
Yeah.
Because in case you don't know, everyone, that game's microtransactions, they were fucking something. I mean, they were disgusting. They were literally like fucking full-on gambling packs. Fucking atrocious shit.
There were. You didn't need to use them, but yes, they will still be in there in 2021.
All right, so what then it's like, why are we increasing by $10 then?
Because they can.
I just think overall, this is a terrible game to obviously start having a discussion with, because it's like, for me, I'm like, well, you're increasing it by $10. Well, that's shit. But like, I wouldn't buy the game anyway. Like, I'm not going to pay an extra $10 for the game that I didn't want. So it's a terrible kind of game to compare the situation.
Okay, next Pokemon game costs $10 more.
But on the flip of the side, right? If it's a game that you really want and it's an extra $10, you're not going to care because you're going to want it anyway. In my eyes, that's my opinion. But if we're looking at like this game necessarily, I'd be like, well, that's really expensive for that shit game. No, it's not a shit game. I just don't play it.
I think it was agreed upon it was shit last year, so it's fine.
It's okay. Well, jump on board then. Yeah. It's shit.
Thoughts, Ash?
Yeah, it seems an odd choice for that to be the first one announced as going up. I'm trying to look at what else 2K is bringing out next year, but I mean, for PS5 potentially. Nothing is currently coming up.
Old mate, fucking the first PS5 game that was announced. They're publishing that.
Oh, Godfall.
Yeah, Godfall.
I mean, if they had said, "Hey, Godfall's going to be $109," then we'd be like, "Oh, okay, I guess." But because it's 2K, because it's the basketball game that we get every single year,
it's a bad comparison.
It's hard to justify. It's more, I guess. It's interesting they're not doing the smart delivery or the cross-buy thing. And they're actively saying, "Hey, no, we're not doing it." Especially when Madden's come out and said they're doing some sort of thing, at least for the first 12 months.
They extended it, yeah.
And you would expect that all the EA games would follow suit and do the similar kind of thing.
Kind of set the standard now, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they're working on an NBA game at the moment, but I mean, it gives them a little bit of an opportunity there. Yeah. I mean, it's not a great look, and I wish they'd given a little bit more justification as to why it's going up. I mean, I think the interesting thing is it's going up $10 US. It's going up $10 Australian, so really we're getting the better end of the deal. It's only going up like 10%, whereas it's going up like 30-something% over there, like 20-something%.
I think too, it does depend what, like for other games, not just for this game, what you're actually getting for that extra money, really. Like other than it obviously being on next gen and looking amazing and blah 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 blah. Obviously, if it's got like different content or something like that, then you're like, yeah, I think about that extra $10.
Or if they're going, hey, this is the precedent across the board.
This is the new, then you're just going to accept it and be like, well, I'm going to buy that game anyway. I don't see any gamers who are really looking forward to a game being like, I'm not going to pay that extra $10 now that it's an extra $10. They're eventually either they're going to wait and get it on sale, which will be a bazillion months down the track. But if it's a game that they look forward to all year, they're not going to be like, no, I'm not going to I'm not going to pay that extra $10.
We've-
You got
we've had
Afterpay
a
and whatever
pretty-
else happening these days. You don't need to worry.
Yeah, we've had it pretty good for a long time. I think it's been at like that price for like the last 10 years or something. You know, so a little price. Everything, inflation hits everything. So
Yeah, there are options. Everyone complained about it initially, and then everyone will jump on board. They want their games.
I think I'm on a case by case basis with it, where like anything that's going to make a shit ton of money from microtransactions, I'm like, you don't really deserve to do any sort of price increase. However, any major, like especially these things like Last of Us and Witcher, like I mentioned, any games along those lines, them costing more, I'm like, yeah, that probably should have happened a long time ago.
If they come out and say Cyberpunk is 100, well, they're saying it's cross-gen, but if it was for a PS5 version, it's $109. Would you be upset? No, probably not.
No, I think I would hope. I think video games in general should cost more. In general, but as I'm saying, if they're making up the meat between with microtransactions and bullshit like that, then I'm like, well, you don't get to do it. But anything else increasing prices, I would hope I think is a good move, and I would hope that if someone could tell me that, like, look, we're increasing the prices of the video games, which means that we're going to get more money, which means that this means we can hire more people, which means less crunch time, then it's like, but don't shake your head if I'm giving a fucking example of something, Ash. That's not how you don't get to shake your heads at figurative examples. But I'm saying if that was like the domino effect, then it would be, I feel like no one would be able to make any sort of argument against the cause of case. And if as a whole the video game industry came out and was like, hey, we're going to increase the prices of all our games because, look, the amount of work and years we put into this, we don't actually get as much money back as we probably should, but now we want to get it so we can fucking stop the video game crunch culture, and we can pay more people, we can hire more people, blah, 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 blah. If all the companies joined hands and came up and said that message, then I feel like everyone would have to just be like, well, you can't really argue with that. So that would be the end of the whole argument, I feel. Because there's heaps of other things, like, because we're talking about AAA games here, right? We look at indie games. So 5 people in a basement spend 3 years working on an indie game, and then they sell it for $10. That don't add up, you know? Like, in rare cases, like Goose Game, they sell that for whatever it was, like fucking $20, I think, or something like that. And obviously that sold like hotcakes.
To a million people.
Yeah, and they sells like hotcakes, and they made a shit ton of money off it. So it's like, that is a rare example. Most of the time, a lot of indie devs spend as long as they did, if not longer, working on these games, and they barely make their drawback, and definitely not enough to actually. A lot of times you see indie developers shut down after one game and can't do it and whatever else. I'm like, if anything, indie games should be having a price hike before AAA games, or like they should both be getting a price hike. You know what I mean? Like there's a weird thing. There's a weird thing that people have with indie games where they're like, well, it's an indie game, so it has to cost like $20 or less, and it can't cost more than that because then that's just the price for an indie game. Or also the fact is, like, if you go to a movie theater, how much it costs to go to a movie theater? Let's have a meet between, say, like $15 average or something like that, right? I know some people pay for, high prices, some people pay low prices, but you're paying $15 to go to a movie for an average of 90 minutes for an average movie, right? And then you're paying $60 for potentially 30, 50, 100 hours. Like that, and especially when gamers like to bring up like dollar value per hour as like a math system. I'm like, the math doesn't add up. You pay $15 for a movie, it's 90 minutes. You pay $60 to play The Last of Us 2.
Is it though?
It goes for 25 hours. It doesn't work. Doesn't add up. So video games, like the video games are actually on a like dollar point to like hour playtime, a lot of the time, are ridiculously good value. And people kind of just undervalue how, you pay $60 for Call of Duty. Someone plays it all year long for like 200 hours, and they're like,
more. Come on, more.
Maybe for people like you. And then they undervalue it. So, yeah, I think it's it's a bit more nuanced than simply, yes, all video games should cost more, because then, of course, the microtransactions and whatever the fuck else comes in, because they have technically, that's what I'm saying, they have technically had a price hike.
Extra income.
They snuck a price hike in without calling it price hike, and it was microtransactions and shit. So this, if they want to have a proper price hike, like on the top, like a straight up one that they can't hide, then we need to go back and discuss microtransactions and shit and be like, well, do you justify these now? Does all this shit make sense? We're going to put a gambling warning on these fuckers now? What are we doing? You know?
Well, it's not really a price hike. They just invented a game within the game to include microtransactions.
Look, Ash, you can call it what you want to call it, but they snuck a price hike in. They snuck a way to make more money off suckers in. People are like, oh,
I don't know if they snuck
remember in
it
my
in,
fucking
they just
football games when I used to have
smacked it
all
on
the characters unlocked at the start? Fuck that shit. I want to pay $5 for a pack of booster cards, and that's the way I'm going to lock them now. Yay! Love
Exactly
sports
like
games.
that, yep.
Love sports games. Unlocking.
I mean, you can still play as all the teams. I mean,
can you though?
it's just in with one mode. Yeah.
Gotta get them 6 skins for your soccer boots.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you look at this, if we're talking specifically about basketball, like that's like one shoe. That's one basketball shoe. You just go outside and play your own game.
I think proper basketball shoes cost more than the game of basketball.
Yeah, they cost. Yeah, they do.
It costs like
more.
several hundreds of dollars.
I said one basketball shoe.
Okay, so yeah, maybe
shoe.
the
No, even one shoe is probably more.
Probably more. Yeah.
I don't follow sneaker culture, but I know it's expensive.
Yeah.
Gotta get some Jordans on you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Fucking MJs. Love that shit. Any final thoughts? Do you love video games, money?
I like money and video games.
10 out of 10 was great. Well, I'll do it then. Of course, find us on Twitter at exposurenetwork.com/Twitter. Feel free to send us in pictures of your Jordans. We love that shit. And you can also mail in any questions or suggestions or topics for the show, whatever the fuck. Mail at exposurenetwork.com with the subject line Arcade Couch. And we'll see you here next week at the same time. It's the same couch with the same bants. Boy! Hey, don't forget you can subscribe to the show wherever you're currently listening, and you can drop a review if you can. Find more great shows like this and more content over at exposurenetwork.com, and please consider supporting us for as little as $1 over on our Ko-fi page by heading to exposurenetwork.com/support. Thanks for listening.